Hey guys, Anthony, 4x4 Diesel. Just thought I'd make a video explaining the difference between a few EGR systems. For example, the 1KZ, the 1KD and the 1GD. Massive differences in those systems and those engines really. So of course we're not going to fit it all in this video. And what are we looking at? We're looking at the small Hall of Fame, whatever it is, with some dirty EGR systems going on up there. So you can have a look at those, whatever, while I try and work out what I want to explain to you. And that is, yeah, massively different. So we'll just run through a few things. Back to the 1KZ. When I say 1KZ, in Australia, you know, it was in the 90 series. Won't worry about that, they're getting a bit old. Most people have moved on from those, the antiques, and one day it will be like that with the 120, the old antique. But look, generally people in the 120s and the 150s, not everybody, and there's people overseas with, you know, 1KDs in 90 series and whatever, but whatever. The point is, we're just going to sort of cover the general, most of what people are, of what they've got and what they're looking at. So the 1KZ in the 120 Prado, right, for example, that service schedule was to change the oil every 5,000 kilometres. Okay, so the EGR, look, that's when EGR came in on these engines pretty much, you know, back when it was in the 90 series, no EGR valve sort of thing. So that was kind of the first level of emissions. Now, as emissions change, you know, Euro 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, that's readily available. You can Google that and work it out for yourself. I can't remember the years, like, you know, I think it was 1996 or something like that, somewhere, but it depends what country. And then, you know, 2001 or something, and 2006, 2009, I can't remember what year. And there's certain levels they had to reach, you know, it was like 500, and then it went down to 250, then it went down to 120, and then it's got to be down to 50 by whatever. I can't remember, you know. I just can't remember. So I can't remember everything. You can search that, Google it, it's readily available. And if you like, someone can even put it up in the comment saying, hey, this is what it is. So anyway, when EGR systems came out on the 1KZ, and the 1KZ was a good engine. It had its pitfalls, but it was a good engine. The oil change was every 5,000 Ks. Now, why would that be? They haven't got a lot of, because the soot loading in the oil is part of the problem, right? That's what's in your oil, and that's what's going to not help prevent wear on your engine. It's going to maybe cause some damage when it gets to an amount. Okay, that's one of the main things, I suppose. What was I going to say, mate? We're going to roll this. Here we go. Okay. I don't know exactly what point I was trying to make there. Yes, soot levels, 1KZ. Oil change every 5,000, we got that. And, and turbos, that's what I was going to say. That's what I was just want to mention, the turbo. Think about the poor little turbo, spinning along at gazillions of thousands miles an hour for hours and whatever, and the oil is what's got to protect it, and that's soot in the oil. So I just wanted to put a mention for the turbo. And that's, see how I mean, we don't do it, we'll start again, it's only 3 minutes. No, we just keep rolling, okay? If you watch all the videos till the end, you might see every now and then I do put a blooper like that, and I'm just going to add it on the end of the video for a bit of a laugh. Might be funny for me, might be funny for you, might be funny for both of us, might not be funny at all, but anyway, we'll just do that, and if you watch it, you might get to see it. Now, anyway, so 1KZ, we've got, mate, the oil was filthy, right? So the earliest EGR system, so let me just firstly say that the reason, one of the main reasons the oil gets black in the last 20 years, right, we'll say, is because of that, in the EGR, remember, exhaust gas recirculation. It's going back to the intake. So what goes in the intake is exhaust gas. It's got soot. We already know there's a lot of explosions happening in that engine every minute, right? A whole heap of them. How many thousand RPM? You know, you can count them that way. Goes for minutes, goes for hours, goes for days, weeks, months, years, whatever, right? There's a lot going on. So in 6 months, you know, your average oil change interval, you've got all what's in that combustion. What contaminates your oil is what's in the combustion. Like for a petrol engine, you know, the petrol blows past the rings, whatever. Same thing with the diesel, a little bit of that. But a lot of what it is that EGR, that soot, some of that's blowing past the rings, and that's what ends up in your oil, making it black, right? And I suppose, you know, when I thought of making this video, to be honest, that was yesterday, and I had these awesome thoughts and things I wanted to share, and I went, I can't forget that one, and I made a little note to do a video explaining this, and I'm just not quite in the zone, okay? So it's not going to turn out as good as what I had planned when I thought of it, but we'll just do the best we can. Now, the 1KZ, really black oil, right? You're going, well, early EGR system, so it's not opening and circulating as much exhaust soot, so you got to think to yourself, why is that oil so black then? Why is it so black? I mean, part of it is the combustion, right? Think about it, right? The old injectors, they're just like switches, right? Here we go, we've got one here actually. This wasn't planned, but I've got one sitting here on the bench, right? Here we go. Was not planned, I promise. Right, so there's an old one, right? Old injector, right? Really easy to open up, clean up, rebuild, replace nozzles. Piece of cake, anyone could do it. You know, you need some basic testing equipment. No electronics there, it's fully mechanical, right? Sorry about that, I know it didn't focus, but it doesn't matter, right? So what I'm trying to say is really simple, but what do you get for simple? And you know, the first ideas of anything are never really the best, are they? And they can be improved upon. Look at the motor vehicle, you know, the first motor vehicle, and look where we are now. You know, they're not flying yet, but, you know, I don't know what's going to happen in the next few decades. So, we've got a low flow EGR system, but we've got really dirty black oil. Every time you change your oil on a 1KZ, it's like, you might as well spill some black paint on your hands if you get it on your finger. It's terrible stuff. Worse than 1KDs. And we'll get to that. We're going to get to that. We're still on 1KZ. So who knows? Who's figured it out? You can put in the comment, I actually knew before you told me, if you like. But you can all cheat and say you told me. You can say you knew before I told you as well, if you like. I don't mind. You're only cheating yourself. That's what the teacher said, right? Anyway, so because the deal is, just bring it back to basics. Exhaust gas recirculation. Remember what we said? You're putting that exhaust gas back in the intake. You're putting the soot, the dirty soot that goes out the tailpipe that you normally see blowing out tailpipes of dirty diesels. And just think over the last few decades, many decades, always out the back of the trucks and the buses and all that. Oh, dirty diesels. Don't you just look at it and go, oh, I hate diesels and it stinks and all that. I don't want the smell of diesel fuel. I don't like the smell of diesels in front of me or in the air and in the environment. It's disgusting. I can't stand it. Right? So you're looking at that and you're going, all that black soot, that's what's getting fed back into your intake manifold. That's what's going in your combustion. And that's basically why it's so bad, because what have you got? You've got a really basic injector and a basic injection system. It was pretty sloppy to describe it in my eyes. You know, it's a bit of a sloppy, messy system that wasn't spraying the right amount of fuel for the right amount of time in the right places, let's say. Okay? So, what happened then was, you know, things moved on. Emission rules got upgraded to, you know, Euro whatever, 2, 3, 4, wherever we're going. But the point is, the 1KD was born, and I like the 1KD, right? It would be good if it was born without an emission EGR system. Some countries don't have EGRs on it. Lucky them, okay? So what happened there? Well, common rail. And it's not, when people say, oh, is it a common rail? You know, it's like there's this mystery around common rail and it's some real technique. It's really simple. It doesn't matter about the common rail. Instead of the supply pump running a line directly to each injector, it runs one line to the rail and then from that rail to the injectors, and that's why it's common rail. But that's not the big difference. The big difference really is, and that's good, that's an improvement, it's all part of it, but it's the injectors, what's in there. There's so many moving parts, tight tolerances and precision. It sprays the right amount of fuel for the right amount of time, right? And they just get better at it as the years go on. So this is the good part. This is where EGR gets better. And you think it's got nothing to do with EGR, but this and injectors have got everything to do with dirty or clean EGRs like this stuff. You know, this is not only a dirty old EGR. People go, oh, why are some dirty and some are clean? Well, it's partly to do with what oil you're using, right? Because the oil's the glue. It's partly to do with how you drive, you know, whether you rev it or not, whether you do lots of cold starts because it's on choke, and what we just talked about, kind of like running dirty, right? If you do a lot of long highway running, it's going to be better, okay? So this sort of thing does make a big difference, right? But what I want you to understand is that change from 1KZ to 1KD, besides having heaps more power and heaps more torque and being quieter and responsive and so much nicer to drive, sorry 1KZ owners, you don't know what you're missing out on. I'll be honest here, you really don't, okay? They're good engines, we love them too. They've got their pitfalls just like every other engine. Mate, time to move on to a 1KD. They are awesome. Or stick with your 1KZ because they're pretty awesome too. Just don't think that they made a worse engine. They always made it better, okay? Now, it's so much cleaner and it's working right. Early days in particular, you're going to find that the way to judge how much soot and that's going through your engine and whatever is kind of the condition of the oil, because it's going to blow past the rings and end up in the oil. So a fairly new car is going to have fairly new oil. If you've got, so where the downside is, so you've got a cleaner engine, that's the positive. The negative is that Euro emission next level needed more EGR flow to help out with that reducing nitrogen oxides, right? Now in this video, I'm going to try not to say, stop listening to other people. You know, the ones that say it's there to cool the engine and like it's going to help with engine longevity, they just don't know what they're talking about, okay? We'll do more videos and try and explain that, but I just want to try and stay on this. I know it's been slow to get going, but I hope you're with me still and you're getting it, right? So 1KD comes out, it's heaps cleaner, right? But we've got a dirty EGR system that's worse. It's opening more, there's more flow. It opens under lighter throttle conditions where, say, for example, the 1KZ, as soon as you touch the accelerator, maybe the EGR valve closed. I've got to be honest, I can't remember. I haven't plugged in and looked at that and worried about it for years. Couldn't care less, right? It wasn't a big problem in the 1KZ. It was dirty in there. It was dirtying up the oil. It was in the manifold, but it wasn't caked up like some of these are, like these ones here, right? The reason they are is because of the amount of EGR flow. It's kind of over-engineered trying to meet these emissions, right? There's too much going on. There's too much flow going on there, right? Which is why the re-engineering works really well, right? So no hints or tips there. Now I want to see in a comment there, I saw that little hint or tip if you got to this far in the video, because I want to know who the people are that are watching to the end, because they're the ones that are going to get the help. And when I see those names, and then when I see it on a text message, and they need some help with something, they're the ones, particularly if you've supported us and done all the right things, you know, with your injectors and all the sort of right maintenance, and you've ticked all the boxes, taking the advice to the letter, right? I don't think you're going to have any issues. Really try and give some good advice so that you can look after the vehicle. So I hope you're getting the picture, right? Nice clean engine, bad EGR system. Good engine, naughty EGR, okay? So there we are. And as the vehicle gets older, what happens? The injectors get worn. What happens with worn injectors? More smoke, more soot. Even if you can't see it, trust me, there's a bit there. There's a bit going on. You're not going to see it all, okay? So a big part of keeping your intake system clean is injectors as well, right? Keeping the fuel, and not just injectors, the whole thing, right? All your filters and sensors, keeping it running in peak condition, okay? So the EGR system, if it wasn't working so well, is going to be helpful. And if your injection system, fuel delivery system, is in peak condition, it's going to be helpful. So that's sort of 1KZ through to 1KD. Then what happened? We got the 1GD, right? 1GD came out in Australia in about 2015. And we're kind of a bit worried because you think, oh yeah, you know, the EGR is going to the next level. They've got to meet stricter emissions. It's got a bigger pipe. It opens more, right? Like the 1KD. You know, the 1KZ, it was like, what I was saying is it's kind of like you just touch the accelerator and the EGR valve shut, basically, right? If you had to accelerate, it was probably like, I don't know, it might have been 5, 3 or 7% or something. Really low and the EGR valve shut. 1KD, you can be accelerating quite moderately and the damn thing's still open a good percentage, right? So you're getting all that soot through there, and that's why it's sluggish, okay? It's not running on that cold, filtered air. It's running on that dirty, hot exhaust gases. Until you get to a point where you really put your foot in a bit more, then the EGR valve shuts. And you can use that app, that AutoFix 3210, to have a look on both the 1KD and the 1GD at your EGR position, if I remember correctly. Correct me if I'm wrong by checking those videos we put up recently. Just search AutoFix with a PH, not an F, AUTOPHIX. Just watch those videos, and it's a handy little tool to have. As I said, this is not this video. Everyone should have something to scan and clear DTCs, right? So check those out if you haven't already. I'm not done yet, just throwing that in there to remind you because we got a bit near there. But what I'm trying to say is that app, I think you can check your EGR position, right? So if you've got that on your dashboard, and you know what I mean if you watch that video, those 6 things, you know, you've got your coolant temp, you've got your MAF and your MAP, whatever you want, your voltage, and yeah, you can put the decimal point on the voltage. I haven't done that yet. Busy making videos for you guys, right? But you can look at your exhaust gas position, what am I saying? Another blooper. Anyway, your EGR percentage, right, or flow, or opening or flow, depends what they call it, something different, right? On the 1KD, it's actually a percentage. On the 1GD, I think it might be pretty well a percentage as well, but it's not really percentage something's open. It's a totally different system. We're not going to go into that on this one, and we're going to need to educate ourselves more and work on them more before we start delivering that information on the 1GD. 1GD, I keep saying G and it sounds like a J, but you know what I mean, 1GD, right? We're going to need to work on them a lot more. We're not going to work on 1, 2 or 3 and come out and tell you. It's going to be hundreds and thousands before you get any information out of us, so that it's reliable information, okay? Different to everybody else. I'm not dying to tell you about things. It's when I need to tell you about things because the problem is so big and I know so much about it and I just have to help you. It's my duty. That's when I'm going to start telling you things. Okay, so 1GD's early days, they're only 4 or 5 years old. They haven't done a lot of Ks. They go to Toyota dealers for their cap servicing and whatever. I'm not saying whether that's good or bad, that's another video. So, new engine, of course the new engine is going to be built kind of like a better design and more efficient, and it's tighter. It's going to be a better engine in that respect, if you know what I mean. I'm not knocking the 1KD or the 1KZ, both good engines, but a new generation thing is better, if you know what I mean, okay? Now the injectors, not that much different to the last of the 1KD, DLC code and all that sort of thing. So those components are going to be awesome and they're going to last really well. And I'd suggest around about the same interval, probably, you know, the seats and the injectors sort of thing and the pipes and all that, it's probably about the 7 years, 170 type thing. So we're nowhere near it for most cars. The ones that are higher in Ks, 200, 300,000 Ks, whatever, they've done highway Ks, so that's even better. We've said that before, so it's all, the information still lines up. It's still a diesel engine, it's still similar injectors, you know, they're not the same injectors, so we're not going to say they're the same. Everything's very similar. It's not like they've come up with a whole new design, okay? The components are coded, so they're going to work, the engine's going to work itself and the fuel system clean really well for a long time. So what have we got as a downside is we've got even more EGR flow again, right? But I've had this suspicion, okay, and I've been monitoring our vehicle and I'm purposely not changing the oil at 5,000 Ks, okay? I'm not doing that, but I am monitoring the oil color, okay, at 10,000 kilometers, at 20,000 kilometers. And I'm seeing the soot loading by a visual. This is not by a, you know, official fuel test, because we don't, oil test, because we don't bother with that generally, unless there's a reason to or a problem with something. It's just follow your nose, rule of thumb. You know, it's just the feel of it, you know, like in the castle, you know, you just the feel of it, whatever it is. Anyway, I know what oil looks like. I've changed enough oil in my lifetime, and it's my belief that for whatever reason, you can't really go by the percentage that EGR's open, okay? Because if this engine's running really clean with an awesome, clean, new fuel system, and that's what it is, you know, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 Ks, just like 1KDs, clean, awesome, whatever. And a lot of 1KDs, you could look in them at those sort of Ks and they weren't too bad. Now, I'll be completely honest, you'd be shocked also if you looked in them at 20, 30, 40,000 Ks as well on some vehicles. Now, the difference is where all this EGR valve up here, right, you know, it fed it straight in from the bottom of the EGR valve there and it just went all over here, and which ended up all around there and that one over there and, you know, all around here on some vehicles, but not all of them. So it kind of depends how it's delivered, and the 1GD is totally different, and we don't have photos and videos and whatever yet, but sit tight, it'll happen eventually, okay? It's just a matter of time when someone wants to spend the big money to get in there and have a look at their dirty, filthy intake. So there's been some cameras down in some intakes, have a look around. We haven't seen anything too bad at the moment. We have heard from early days, actually, back in 2016, we did hear from someone that dealt with a dealer, and the information was, these are much worse than 1KDs, you know, oh, you know, they had problems with one of these engines, 3,000 or 4,000 Ks, and the amount of caking was You know, this is what I mean. Is it real? You've got to have a number of the same thing happen again and again. So I'm not sharing this information actually, because this is one example where a Toyota dealer, someone told someone that this is what, oh, it's as bad as one, so the 1GD was as bad at 4,000 k's, for example, as a 1KD at 40,000 k's. So it made them sound really bad. And that would make sense because you've got a bigger pipe, bigger hole, more EGR flow to meet those emissions, but the way it's delivered, this exhaust gas system, the way it's delivered to the engine is different, okay? The fuel system's different, so straight away it's cleaner, it's gonna have less soot. The best part would be is if they took those exhaust gases after the DPF, right? That'd be awesome. I've said that before, but it's not the case. But it seems to be a cleaner system, okay? So some people, they've got their catch cans and they think, oh, I've got a catch can, it's working. Look, it may or may not be working. It might work to block up and help your engine to be not so clean inside. It might work to pop some seals. It might do that. It might take that. I can guarantee you're not getting much oil out of a catch can on a 1GD or any other fairly new engine. As engines get older, more oil. I've said it before. I prefer the oil in the intake to help lubricate, keep everything wet, prevent corrosion, lube the valves or whatever. Okay, and in the really old, in the 3, 4, 500,000 K 1KDs, where they're burning a whole, I don't know, a few hundred mil, not even half a litre, nothing. They don't burn oil, but you know, it's sort of like almost self-cleaning. And I've had the manifolds off and seen the trails where the oil is with the clean through to the alloy. So it does work really well, that system. But I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. So that was a long version, okay? I'm looking at it 21 minutes, okay? But I hope you probably really got educated on this one. So if you haven't done it already, thumbs up. I think you really probably got educated. And it wasn't really a light bulb moment for me, but I was just thinking last night, I went, yeah, you know, because I'll go back to it again. The 1KZ, the oil was so filthy. It was so black and disgusting, okay? And that was, why was those intervals every 5,000 Ks? And then on the 1KD, that came out with higher emissions standards, with more EGR flow. You'd think the oil was going to be worse, but they changed the oil change standard to 10,000 Ks. Well, I disagree with that. Leave it at 5,000, okay? But that's on the 1KD, right? But I know why they did it, because they did their testing and they had a cleaner fuel system and there was less soot loading in the oil, and that's what they come with. So that's fine. And I've got a suspicion that the 1GD is getting less soot through the combustion, less is ending up in the oil by the gauge of my dipstick, okay? Maybe we should who wants to see the dipstick? Let's pull it out, okay? You're gonna be horrified here. I've got to tell you, it's had an oil change not long ago, but what I'll do on the next video, if you're subscribed and you've got the bell on so you're not missing anything, you'll see the next video. I'll show you the dipstick. Right, so this is, I'll just pull the dipstick out now. This wasn't part of the plan. I'll show you that first and then I'll tell you a bit more about it. Now it's not going to focus for you because it's focused on the wall, but you can see how the oil's golden, right? Now, we'll go and deposit that back where it belongs. Here's your little bonus, right? I looked at it before the oil changes and it was the best colour oil of any diesel engine I've ever seen after 10,000 kilometres, okay? Do you want me to say it again? That was the best colour and condition diesel oil I've ever seen from a diesel engine that's done 10,000 kilometres, okay? It doesn't do a lot of short trip stop start. It does some of the normal sort of driving like that. It does a fair bit of 80, 100k highway driving. It does some shorter trips and whatever. So a fairly average extra urban type, you know, highway use, whatever. Is that a factor? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe we need to see some more dipsticks, okay? We've got a group on Facebook called, I'll bring it over. There they are. See the bottom ones there? The hashtag ones for whatever engine you've got, right? Hashtag 1GD Forever Crew. So if you've got a 1GD and you're still watching, see the bonuses you get if you hang around? Get in that group. Put some pictures up. Take some pictures. Please keep it factual if you can. You know what I mean? We don't need misinformation. But let's get some comparisons going. Say, look, this had an oil change at 20,000 and this is 29,500. I'm about to do an oil change, and here's the, put the couple of photos up, that'd be awesome. Or just say, look, you don't have to take the first photo, just take, you're about to do an oil change, take a photo and say, hey, this is about to have its 60,000 service. The last service was at 50. This is what it looks like. Or this had an oil, I did the oil on this every 5. I did it at 55. I'm about to do 60. Let's compare. Include what sort of driving you do, right? This is how we learn, sharing the information. So there you go. You've seen the dipstick clean. I've told you it looked pretty damn good, the best I've seen. And it was the same before the 10,000 oil change. It was the same before the 20. Before the 30,000, if I remember and we're in a position, I'm going to set the camera up like this on the wall, just like that, bada bing, and I'm going to pull that dipstick and show you the difference. Now, I'll give you some examples, not only what I've noticed, but what people have told me, okay? So I get a lot of feedback from people. What they've told me is, you know, you go into your whatever workshop you go to, and this is not people complaining to me, it's just stuff I read on the internet. You know, I went into Toyota and got an oil change. I don't even reckon they're changing the oil, you know? And apparently there's a lot of places, dealerships and workshops and that do rip people off and not even do basics like change oil. I would have thought if you're going to rip someone off, at least do the basics and the things they can see and don't do the things they don't know about, you know? Like, wouldn't that be a bit smarter, you know, if you were going to be that way? But apparently some of these places don't even change oil. But anyway, whatever, that's another story, off topic. The point is people are complaining. They don't believe the oil's been changed, right? And there's been some cases where absolutely the oil's been changed. And I can understand where they're coming from, because if we have one that we service every 10,000 Ks, right? Particularly one that's got a catch can on it, right? We'll do the oil change. You run the engine to check the oil again. Definitely in a 1kz, okay? Let's go back to the 1kz for a minute. 1kz, oil change every 5,000 Ks. You change your oil, you run the engine, and then switch it off and come back a few minutes later to check the oil level, and the dipstick's black. The customer wouldn't know whether you change the oil or not, okay? That's 5,000 Ks. Now, in 1kds with 10,000 Ks, the same thing sometimes. Depends on the oil change regime. Most of my clients do the oil every 5,000, whether it's me, them, they do it in between, or they do the oils and I just get to see it every now and then when we check the vehicle once a year. You know, they do all the maintenance and I do the check over and just say, look, yep, you need to do this, this and this next, or what it's coming up for, we can do that, no problem. I'm happy to check over the vehicle and not actually do the maintenance. You're happy for you to save your money, no problem, okay? But the point I'm trying to make is, quite often, we'll see this situation where the dipstick's dirty straight away after the oil change, right? So what I'm trying to say, even though this has got to meet stricter emissions, the quality engine and the fuel system and the way the EGR system's set up, by looking at the oil on this dipstick, I don't believe the intake system's going to cake up. Which unfortunately, to prove that, I'm going to have to keep this gutless 1GD longer than I'd planned to prove that point, maybe. We know other people, we've got other 4x4 diesel workshop partners that have got these in Hiluxes and Prados, whatever the case may be. So we will monitor those as well. We'll keep putting the camera up there and see what's going on and bring the information to you as we have it. But it's kind of good news, okay? The DPF's good. The EGR system, it looks bad, but it might not be too bad. Maybe if you've got you know, a solution in place even on the 1GD, right, with one of these sorts of things with a 13mm hole, I think it is on the 1GD, perhaps that's what's helping on some of these vehicles. But I'm going to say, at least one of them I saw at the oil at 8,000 kilometers on the same oil, and it was still quite clean. I was shocked. Okay, I'll say it again: cleanest engine oil in any diesel engine I've ever seen that's done 10,000 Ks. And not, you know, it's cleaner than some of these other engines. As I said, you just do the oil change, you pull the dipstick out and it's black already. You just saw that one. It's only done 200 or 300 Ks, but it's well and truly circulated. Any mess in that engine will be on the dipstick. Beware if you're fitting catch cans. This is not about catch cans. This is a little bonus tip at the end. It is getting towards the end because I've gone for 30 minutes, right? Long one, but it's information, right? Very educational for you. Make sure you've subscribed, you got the bell on so you don't miss out. It's just real good information, so they tell me. What was I going to say? Now I've lost what I was going to say. Look, you know, you'd think it's going to be worse. Bigger pipes, whatever. it seems to be working well. So what I like least about the 1GD, well, it's more the transmission software that's behind the engine, and I do find the engine a little bit gutless, but I could certainly deal with it. I could live with it, okay? They are a bit quieter than the 1KD, things are different, those hydraulic lifters and whatnot, but it does make some really weird knocks and rattles and carry-ons sometimes, so I'm not going to go and say, oh, it's better than a 1KD or quieter, because certainly not. There is pros and cons. There's definitely improvements, but there's going to be things that will possibly cause some problems later. This video is not about that. What was it about again? It was about EGR systems. I hope I've explained it, why the oil gets dirty, why the oil is a really good indicator as to how much exhaust soot and EGR you've got going on. If you've got really clean engine oil, you're probably going to have a clean EGR system. If you're getting a P0400 on your dash, it's saying low EGR flow. Don't go and replace your EGR valve. It's saying low EGR flow. You've got a problem. It's kind of a good problem, because that means your intake might be clean unless it got all caked up before that problem occurred. And in the meantime, you're going to have really clean engine oil, because the biggest contributor, and it's not the only one, but it's by far the highest, by far, than any other combination factor whatsoever added together, the biggest factor why your engine oil goes black in a diesel is that soot being injected through the EGR system. If you completely get rid of that, your oil is going to stay golden, and the better your fuel system is, the point I want to make, the better, cleaner your fuel system is, nice, clean, common rail injectors that have been looked after, not contaminated, DLC coded, with awesome software and tuning is the way to go, okay? If you're going to go and make more power and stuff and blow smoke, that's going to affect your intake system. It's going to, if you've gone and got a tune, this isn't about tunes, but if you've gone and got one and it blows smoke, that's what's going at your tailpipe, that's what's going through your EGR, that's what's going into your engine, that's what's contaminating your engine oil, that's what's blocking up your intake, okay? I've been really clear. I'm really quite happy with how this went. Started off a little bit here and there, whatever, and a bit slow, but that's why you got to be patient. 32 minutes. Am I going or what? Do I need to stop for a drink and a breath? No. Anyway, guys, have you ticked the box? What's ticked the box? Subscribe. Turn the bell on. Please give us a thumbs up. Help us help you. And, well, let's make it 5 things to tick the box. Watch the ads. And last but not least, feel free to hit us up in the comments with short questions and ideas for more videos. Can't guarantee we can do everything, but we do what we can to help. Once again, guys, thanks for watching. Hope you found it helpful. Thumbs up to you. Catch ya.